All right, guys, I have a I dare say, very good podcast for you today. I'm going on vacation, so I wanted to save the best for last. It's going to be broken up into two parts. I got O Darris D'Haiti, a D1 quarterback who's got ESPN little profile. This guy knows the game. He taught me a ton. He taught you guys a ton, but he decided to come on and dig in deep. I'm going to break this thing up into two parts. First part is going to be going over the alert system. And this is not about Tua so much. If we get a new quarterback in here, McDaniel's here, we'll be running the same alert system. Many teams around the league run this alert reading system. It dates back to the old West Coast principles. It's not something new designed just for Tua. And so Odaris is going to do an amazing job. I'll chime in a little bit. So I hope you enjoy this thing a ton. The second part, we'll get into the film. I'll put that out about Sunday. This is a chance to learn about football, to dial in on McDaniel, on the Dolphins, on understanding quarterbacks' reads, and then Tua. So I hope you enjoy. Now, I'll be back next Monday. I think it's the 24th, and I'm going to kick off a lot of new stuff. My sponsors, they've said they need me to get to 10K subs in about 5 months. So Curtis is in the fourth quarter, down by 12, and when I come back, I'm going to do a ton of stuff because I want to keep doing this. I love to do this. I love to have the relationships with you guys. I love to study football. So I'm going to go hot and heavy, hard and heavy, to stick around with you guys because this is their channel. And if I don't make it, then it is kaput for Curtis. So if you can, help me out with the likes, the subscribes, the subs, all that stuff. Because without you, without my sponsors, without the two of you, this show ain't going down. All right, guys. Curtis has been getting lucky. He's been getting some darn good guests, and I think I've got the best ones so far. O Darris D'Haiti played D1 college football as a defensive back. This guy knows the game. He set me straight a couple weeks ago about how Tua reads, and it really opened up. I was telling him before we were talking the background, football is like origami, and you see this creation, and it looks like that's what it is. But when you start opening up, there's so many folds to get to this creation, and it is such a deep sport. That's why these guys work 100 hours a week just to try to stay on top. So Odaris is going to come in today, and he's going to help us understand how Tua and this offense operates and how there are misgivings. And it's not to justify it, but it's simply to show you what legitimately is going on in even a finer detail than what I did the last time. This is a guy who knows the game. He has profound knowledge, and you're going to learn. Whether you like to or you don't, you're going to get a chance to understand the game. And just before he takes off, the overview is I played like 30 years ago, and football was a lot simpler then. I really didn't know all the stuff. I thought quarterbacks just went through pure receiver progressions. And I found out, which some of his studies, that there is a thing called alerts. And it's an old West Coast facet to the game. But now it's become a little bit more prevalent, and it changes things. It's reading the secondary and the alerts. When you hear a guy go, alert, alert. You heard Brady do it, but that's a play shift. But what Tua does is alerts that there's receivers that are there to clear, or maybe not the primary receiver, but everyone's got their call. And when he calls an alert, that receiver becomes the prime receiver based on the coverage he sees. So we're going to go through that and how Tua reads coverages and not the receivers. It's pure progression versus the alert system. And this alert system, not the Brady alert system, but the West Coast Tua alert system, it speeds up the process. Now, it's a give and a take where it speeds it up, but there can be problems on the back end sometimes. But if you run a pure receiver progression, it slows it down. And while there's an asset to that, the slowdown process is a negative tat as well. So there's no perfect way to do it. So this is going to be the gist. I'm going to kind of play the guy in the background. Odaris did an unbelievable job. He sent me this whole dissertation of video and graphics. It was an unbelievable job he did. So the majority of what you're going to hear tonight is him. And it's not me. And I'm just a walk-on from 30 years ago. This is a guy at 27 years old who just came out of D1 school. He's 40. It's been a little bit, but he knows the game. He knows at the highest level, and he understands the deepest nuances. So, Odaris, you're a great dude. We were talking in the background. I've been talking to you for years. I'm very grateful for you coming on. Give us your introduction. Tell us all your accolades so people can understand that you're not just talking out of your behind. You're not just a YouTuber or something to that effect.
Man, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me on. I mean, I've been watching you for years. You've been improving, 1% better every day. And you can tell there's a lot of percentage that's been added.
Yeah.
So, I mean, let's talk a little bit about me. I don't want to go into too much of it. But, yeah, I did play football here in North Miami football. So I'm wearing a little bit of the Pioneer Pride, Swamp Dog salute. Give them a little bit of a spill. But, yeah, born, raised, played Miami football. I even coached here for quite a few years. I hate that he said that about walk-ons because I was a walk-on. I ended up becoming a scholarship player. I have so much respect for walk-ons because it takes a lot to turn yourself from a walk-on into a starter to a scholarship player, and that's big. So yeah, played a few years under Mario Cristobal for my fans before he played for before he started coaching for you guys. He was at FIU for us. So yes. Understand Panthers, Paul's up. All right. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I played a lot of football. Professionally, I did not play professionally, but I did get calls from the Jaguars, Detroit Lions. Tried out for a UFL team, the Tuskers, and end up getting a contract for an IFL, which is arena football team, Montana Outlaws. I end up not taking it because financially it wasn't enough. So. Understand if you ain't playing in the NFL, you probably not get paid.
Nope. That's a darn good resume, man. Wish I had that resume.
But yeah, I really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. I mean, at least I use it for something. Help you out with your show and get a little recognition for my Pioneer football team.
Yeah, no, I that's the thing. That's why I love the comments. If I could, I would just do comments. I love the dialogue. I'm more of like a backdoor guy. I hate being in front of the camera and all this stuff. But I've learned so much from so many people, guys like Alf, so many viewers, guys who aren't even pros or played at a high level and stuff like that. But that's what this game's about for me. It's like it's Ahab chasing after the white whale. No one has all the answers. The game is changing constantly. There's so many nuances. It's just a beautiful woman that you're never going to get, but you love to chase. And so I've been grateful over the years, all the stuff that you and everyone else in the comments have done, because I feel like when I first started this, my knowledge has grown. And I know it needs now. Thanks. You gave me the kick in the head to know I got to go take it a whole nother level. But I'm grateful because this has opened up so much understanding for me. So I'm really, really grateful, brother. So I did my little spiel about what we're going to talk about. But if you want to redial it in so they can understand it and we can get to the film.
Give you an idea. So tonight we're going to be talking not just about Tua, right? So a lot of times we look at Tua, and because Tua is a physically limited quarterback. I hate to say it. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks, but he's a little physically limited. And so what McDaniel's and even Brian Flores did, they created a system, and they have elements of it more with Brian Flores, but it just got dialed up when we got to McDaniel's, where you're not seeing man coverage a lot. So progression basis, like, hey, my first read, I think I got man. I'm going to go to my best guy. He's running a slant. This should work. Let me go to number one. Before Tyreek Hill, we had Parker, who won a lot on slants on short routes because of his size. He gets positioning. Oh, man, that's covered. I can't throw that. Let me go to my second read. If we have man, the in route should be winning. Let's check. He should be winning on the inside breaker right here. Kenny Stills or whoever it might be there. Gesicki. Oh, man, that's not working. Let me go to my sack. And this is what becomes the issue. This takes about 3-4 seconds to do this. This is why you see the elevation of the mobile quarterback to be able to extend plays, create more time. You get a lot of man coverage. As a corner, I'm telling you right now, if you got to be out there 5 seconds, you're not going to be able to cover a toddler. Like, it can't be done. So this is why having a mobile quarterback can be helpful, but it's a detriment because when you get to the playoffs against better teams that can get after your quarterback, no matter what offensive line you have, you don't got that amount of time, right? What you see with Tua a lot, and because you have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, not a lot of DBs can just run man coverage against those guys. So you see a lot of zone. You hear about the too high all the time, but too high doesn't just mean too high. It just means you have two safeties deep. It can be man under. It could be cover two. It could be palms. It could be sink. All it means is you're going to have two people over top that's kind of keeping a shell on top of that coverage, saying, hey, if my guy gets beat, or I'm going to trick the quarterback to try to throw the ball deep, I have an extra guy on top of your receivers, kind of like keeping a bottle on a soda, right? We're not going to let that pop and go free. And what Tua has done, or McDaniel's really has done, has said, hey, if I see this, especially because they're watching film, too high, cover two, they love the run man. They're probably in under. That means I have man coverage. I can probably go, okay, Tyreek Hill, I'm going to throw to him. Oh, he got over top. That means the in route should be good because guess what? The two safeties are evacuated the middle of the field. I can flare up my backs. The linebackers have to go with it. Now the middle of the field is wide open. I don't even have to look at that number two read, that second quarterback. I know what it is. Is it man? Why am I looking at it? Throw the ball now before he even breaks. Ball's there. And this is how we got a lot of those big games in 2022.
Yeah. Now, if you notice that's the thing, man, for the defense, it just demands more physical ability, but it's also a little easier for the quarterback to read. And you could see, and I was saying that before, that we were being blitzed 25.5% in 22, then 24.5 in 23, and then 24 was like 17%. And anytime they blitz, now you can more often than not, unless it's like a zone blitz, you're going to be in man. But you could see that the defenses, Jay, started pulling off the blitzes. They started just dropping 7, and they were still able to get that pressure. And so now you were seeing more zones, and that's really where you're talking now of a lot of this stuff that you were talking about, reading the coverage and how Tua goes through his progressions. Am I correct? Am I getting it right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think
keep
going,
bro. No. I'm saying roll.
One of the biggest things, especially just reading these coverages, is that pressure. Like, it's an incomplete total. And this is his spot here with offensive line protection and play because no, absolutely. Offensive line is one of my weakest things, but you can tell just looking in comparison, because Miami's offensive line has so many weaknesses, because there's 5 guys working together. If one guy fails, you have pressure into the quarterback, and now everything's messed up. Imagine if you got to throw a hot, but the hot is where the pressure is coming. You can't even throw over a guy. Tua is not a tall, big, imposing quarterback that can throw over a guy. Can't really create. And if you get pressure coming off what's supposed to be protected, now the ball has to be either held, or you get a quarterback that can panic, which does happen sometimes with Tua. You always see like once every 3 games now. And you get that horrible throw, like, oh my God, what are you doing? Week 2 versus the Bills. Or are you panicking because pressure's on him? A lot of times, that's not even on the quarterback. And sometimes it is on the quarterback because he's holding the ball too long, or he doesn't shift the protections and say, hey, I see they walking up the DB off the left-hand side of the ball, and we already have a slide to right. I have to keep the back end to protect that side. And so a lot of times we say, oh, the offensive line is doing horrible, but sometimes it's the quarterback who's not seeing that. And so those are a lot of things that we look at, and as fans, it's like, oh, the offensive line is horrible. Well, maybe the quarterback messed up. Or it'd be like, oh, man, the quarterback didn't see that. Why he didn't throw the ball quicker? The offensive line let the man come straight in where you're supposed to be blocking inside out, and you went outside in, and now you have a linebacker coming down the pipe, and he can't throw inside and throw a slant. That's not going to happen.
And then another thing, too, that I'm really kind of learning now is, we hear a lot of times like, well, was it Tyreek's fault? Was it the receiver's fault? And not saying it always is, but when you understand this alert system, not the Brady alert system, but this alert system that we run, when that alert is called, that receiver's got to read the defense and make his route adjustment. And then Tua is throwing to locations, or he's throwing with anticipation based on what he expects the receiver to do. Now, he could be wrong and throw it to the wrong on the wrong route, or the receiver could be running the wrong route. But the receiver's also got a mental responsibility to hear that alert and make that adjustment by what he reads. And two, it is aggressive. He is a gunslinger. And so sometimes that's what you have. Now, to your point, when we played Houston, that was a terrible, that deep out he threw. That was all on him. But there, and that robber one that you were talking about too, that was a little like sketchy, but Hill didn't undercut it. And so there's a lot of nuance to this, not to alleviate all of Tua's responsibilities, but to understand clearly when you have pure route progressions, it's far more delineated, it's more clear. And the responsibility is not as much for the receiver and the quarterback to be on the same page because a lot of stuff changes. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of people probably heard it before where they used to call it option routes, right? So we get a lot of these option routes. The Patriots made this so like famous because they were like the first ones to do this, especially with
really, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're one. Well, I mean, not the first, but they're the ones who made it popular for the 20th century. Was what Wes Welker. I mean, they had Randy Moss who blew the tops off coverages that forced too high, right? Mm-hmm. So you see this too high because remember back in the day, you're seeing the 4-3, the 3-4. You bring walking the safety down to stop the run. It was a heavy run. Most people ran the ball in I formation 60% of the time back then. Yeah. And so why are you? Yeah, but now you have this team, the Patriots, where you have 3 wide. You're going into 12 personnel. Sorry, and now you have 1 back in the backfield, 3 receivers. Is giving put pressure on the teams and say, okay, we're gonna go man, we're gonna go cover 2. You get an option route. You got the linebacker sitting inside who's trying to rob, or you playing man coverage and you're heavy inside because almost all man coverage is heavy inside. And the receiver's running a slant, but it's not really a slant. It's an option route, right? We run up, we see the heavy inside, you whip it back outside. Both of them have to see it, be on time, because timing is so important in this type of offense. Throw the ball before he even breaks, and now you get create separation. You catching the ball, and that's where that yak, getting drunk off the yak, come from, because now we're reading these things together. And you get a lot of times where, especially, I think what's a great example is when we see when Tyreek Hill is tired or Waddle is out of the game, and we bring in those young receivers who have been in the system for a week, Dubose running the wrong route. Well, it's not really running the wrong route. He just read the coverage differently from the quarterback.
He screwed up the alert.
And so the ball's going where he should be, or where Tua thinks it should be, and he's going somewhere else. And then it's like, oh, Tua threw a horrible pass. It depends on what the read was.
I think for me, when I watch Tua and I understand this, some of the most horrible interceptions, I think, are his misreads. But he does, like the one on that deep out that what's his name? What's the top corner from the Texans? Yeah, and picked it off because he threw it short on the deep out and he picked it off. That's on him.
He was late. So I see. What I would say is in that particular route, it's hard for me to remember a little bit. Waddle Hill didn't do a great job of winning the route, but if Tua's reading this, looking at this, and you see he's not winning correctly, and you threw the ball late, of course it's going to be an interception. Everybody did poorly on that ball, on that pass. Hill's not winning in man coverage. Tua's holding on to the ball because he's waiting for him to win instead of expecting him to win. Because if you expect him to win and throw it what's supposed to be, now it's either incompletion and that's it. It's not an interception. The ball is going to be out in front of the Tyreek Hill, but you throwing it late, it's going to be backside. And he threw it behind him. It's a horrible ball. Yeah. Like when he threw it, I remember watching it like, what are you doing?
I think that's one of his biggest problems. He gets tight and he gets desperate and he doesn't choose the odds properly. I mean, also, he doesn't have the biggest arm, so he's got to know that, hey, this is a risky throw. I need to not do it. So, but some of these other ones, it clearly, I think it's just bad chemistry between the receiver and the quarterback. So you want to get into the film now, or you want to show, unless you want to show an image of what this kind of looks like, that graphic you sent me about the playbook?
So I think that was 4. So let's look at 4. I'm not saying plays because I am a defensive player, and I played offense in high school. Once I got to college and they start saying Zach Zebra right, I'm like, I don't want to hear all that no more. Just tell me the coverage and tell me what I got to do. So in this particular situation, you see New Orleans Saints here, and so they have an alert here. I think what's important in our system, you see a lot of motion. Now, you don't see any motion on this particular thing, but you can see the Y, where you can move him wide, right? And so that gives you a tail. Is it man? Is it zone? Which is really big for like the Dolphins. We use zone not to. I mean, we use motion not to help the blocking scheme, but we use it a lot to kind of help the quarterback and the offensive and the receivers. Like, hey, look what we have. He's following you across. This is probably man, giving you an idea. Now, if you motion across in this particular situation, you see we have 11 personnel, one tight end, one back. You motion that tight end. Now we go into 10 personnel where we got only one back. And if he motions across, we in man coverage. And if that safety rotates, because a lot of times you see Tua look down the middle of the field. Some people say, oh, you're just trying to hold the safety. Yes, but on other times he's actually reading that safety. If they give you a safety that rolls down to the middle of the field, what does that tell you about that one receiver side? He's in one-on-one coverage. And if it's Tyreek Hill or Waddle and he's pressing him or he's 5 yards, I'm throwing the ball. It's an alert. It's a pre-snap alert saying, hey, my guy versus your guy, I believe in him. The ball's probably going up. Now I
got a question for you, though, before we keep going. Now, this alert process, he's not calling anything out. This is all understanding as the play. Once they see the alignment, and then once the play itself evolves from the defense, they're making that without any. Whereas Tua actually calling the alert.
No, a lot of times this is built into the play call, and this is one of the reasons why you'll see their play calls take so long, because they have so many things built into their play call. So a lot of people say, "Oh, why is Tua not audibling?" It's kind of like an audible in the play call, so it can always morph. One of the big things you hear about the Miami Dolphins, they love to say they want to be multiple on defense, right? You heard that a lot with Flores. They're very multiple on offense. They run some of the most 2 tight end sets because they want to be able to protect, but they also want to be able to pass out of it. This is why people hated Julian Hill, because like he can't block, he can't throw. I mean, he can't catch. He's why we have him on the field, but it's really to try to keep the defense honest so you can do multiple things. Unfortunately, because you lack some talent in some places, you can't really do everything, right? Say if you had 2 tight ends that can go out and pass, that can block and catch. You have a receiver tight end who, like, I love Jonnu Smith, but he's not beating people in man coverage all the time, right? He's great underneath because you got Waddle and Hill, and you give him the ball, he's a problem to bring down. And so that's where his strengths are. So now you get these issues because can the talent match the system? So what you're trying to do to be successful.
So this is okay. So this is a really good asset because you have, to me, if you watch, I love Warfare, flexibility, your ability to adapt, to adjust, to keep the initiative is always, it's critical in any kind of attack and assault. And you have that in the pass game. But the main problem with this is because it's so cumbersome, you can't get to the line of scrimmage and simply call a run because and so again, it's a yin and yang, but it kind of makes this offense heavy pass, totally pass focused. And you heard Tua say, hey, I get to the line of scrimmage, I know the play is not going to work, and I run it anyway. Mm-hmm. And so I don't understand why McDaniel doesn't create a flexibility where he at least has a portion of his system that is simple to get to the line of scrimmage, that's less alert based, and has the alert of a Brady type where you call 2 or 3 plays in the huddle, at least a run pass option, and then you can at least take advantage of that, because I think that is going to continually hinder us no matter what we do, because we are so pass centric and inflexible based on the defenses just sitting in pass coverage all day and leaving the interior open. Am I wrong? Or
so what I would say is it's a little bit nuanced, right? I think a great example of McDaniel at his best is when he's played the way that he was played in 2022 and 2021. Look at the Cleveland Browns game, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, I think this guy can be our number 2 quarterback." I can't even remember his name right now. Tyler Huntley, right? Yeah. So it's because they played a lot of man. They played single high. They gave opportunities for our receivers to beat coverage, right? And so when he starts to see the things that he expects more, where his team is built to beat, right? Because they came up to try to stop the run because they didn't believe in the quarterback. Well, okay, automatically these option routes are going to kill them because
Yeah.
now you're in man coverage. You're playing inside. I'm jumping. I'm hitting you with an out. I'm hitting you with a whip. I'm hitting you with a counter. All these outbreaking routes. I'm hitting you with a comeback, outbreaking comeback. Like all these outbreaking routes become wide open. And one of the things they said Tua can't throw, which he does throw, is not his best throw, but he can do enough to keep a defense honest. But when you start to get this too high, the thing that doesn't fit great for us, say they're in palms coverage, which is like a cover 2, cover 4 sink, and now they're blanking in the middle of the field, you can't really throw anything against that because every defense has a weakness. This type of coverage is saying, hey, either you're going to throw it out to the flat for like 3 yards and we're going to rally up and you get no yardage, which is why you saw some of these screens, or you're going to run me out of it. And the best way to beat a team who's doing this, which is to run the ball. Like, I mean, this the only thing. This is why you see the renaissance of running the ball, and we can't run the ball in light boxes. And if you can't run the ball in light boxes, what do you think defenses are going to do? They're going to play pass.
I did a whole podcast on that to start the season off. You have to run them out because I'm sure some of the people have heard, but I'm going to say it again anyway. If you go from the Broncos game, all the edges were playing in tight and the linebackers were creeping up at 3.5. But once that game happened, the edges started slowly getting wider and wider, and the linebackers started dropping deeper and deeper. And if you throw outside, you know, screens, you run outside. If you throw in the middle with the pocket post, you want to throw deep, but you're not blitzing and you're seeing cover 2 with linebackers at 5.5 yards. They can get to the edges and cover everything, whether it's a run or pass. They can drop to the middle to get that pocket post, and then they got the guys on the top, and they're not blitzing. And sometimes you're keeping a guy or a guy and a half in the block. It's 2-on-1, and it's a stacked secondary. And so this is my problem with the Dolphins and McDaniel, is that it is so inflexible. And it's great when it's all going right. But when you play top defenses and you're playing in bad weather, you can't rely on it. And that's what my concern is with this whole thing. But to your point, and Ryder, who I talked to yesterday, if you get that run, then you can get legitimate play action. That's something I've been talking about for a while. Have I? I've been talking about that for a while. Legitimate play action, A and B gap. You've got to draw those safeties up. You've got to draw those linebackers up. You've got to crunch those edge guys. It's just like chess. So, but you can't always depend on that because you're not going to have the front to just blow guys off. You've got to be able to have those audibles, those alert release like Brady style, because they're just going to come out and play that high, wide, and deep, and put 2 guys inside in the A and B gap with your 5 guys, and you've got to run them out. So I don't know. That was my 2 cents. I don't know where I'm at now. Get back to what you were saying.
But I think one of the biggest things about this offensive scheme, just from a framework standpoint, it is not the framework for the Miami Dolphins is not broken. They don't have the right personnel to run it, because one of the reasons they run RPO, and Omar says it so much, how you have an RPO without the R? You can't run the ball, right? It's just pass option. And so in this particular scheme, say we have the alert right here, and we have our single receiver motion across, and we're in zone because they're seeing zone a lot. Let's say we see cover 2 or cover 4, which is very similar. You just have your corners getting deep, right? In that particular situation, the weaknesses of the defense change. Cover 4 is going to be the outs. Cover 2 is going to be the seams, and then that honey pocket right there, that money pocket right above the corner and outside the safeties who are on the hashes, right? So in that particular situation, say we see cover 2, right? And Tua, he comes out, he sees one guy pressing Tyreek Hill. I'm going deep. I look over here, but the safety doesn't rotate down. Safety's still over top. I can't throw that. That's an interception. First of all, you can't throw 60 yards because, like, you really can't do that unless the feeder is completely set. And then you got a safety back there who's already 10, 15 yards back. It's a foolish play. It's a bad read. But then when you come back across to the middle of the field to that, the ZB, which is your motion guy or your Z receiver, not the Z receiver, sorry, your slot receiver, and they read it and they're in cover 2. Remember, you have your backers who are sitting in the middle of the field. So why would I even throw that if I have nothing to hold those backers? So why do you even go to that? So you'll see a lot of times where Tua, that doesn't work. I can't go inside. Nothing's holding my backers. Nothing's holding these backers. I can't even throw. It's not man. They're not vacating that area. I got to go all the way across the field, and he'll run through his reads. You see him go through these reads super fast sometimes because I'm not even looking at that. Why waste my time? I'm going outside, and then I have this route. Usually you'll see with Miami, not in this particular picture, the Z receiver will run an out, a corner, a hitch, a comeback, usually an out-breaking route. And then you can throw that, especially if you have your back going into the flat to hold that cover 2 defender, because we just said it was cover 2, and that's what creates that honey hole.
And that's why Achane gets a lot of those that's why he's got so many catches.
Because a lot of teams said, forget the little running back. We're going to drop our cover 2 corner and just get underneath anything because we know they're breaking short. Give it to Achane. And then if Achane breaks the tackle, it's 5-10 yards, and voila, there we are. And that's what was the counterpunch to what we were seeing a lot. But defenses have film too. They start watching this and they're like, hold up. They're hitting us with the back. Wherever the back goes, breaks off that way, that's where we're going to start flowing our backer a little bit to that way. The corner be alive. Hey, understand, get down, start deep, come down hard onto that running back, make the tackle. This is what defenses say, hey, the number one thing is we got to tackle. Because usually they make contact with Achane within the first 3 yards of the line of scrimmage. He just breaks a lot of tackles, give you a few extra yards. And so this is how you can go through 3 progressions in like half of 2 seconds, like half a second to 2 seconds, and he can get the ball out and go through 3 reads in that such a quick time because he's basically skipping a read because he knows what the coverage is. Now,
it's like a cheat sheet or like crib notes or like, it just speeds things up.
It speeds things up. And now what would make this framework work so much better, Alexa, stop. One thing to make this thing work so much better is the run game, because this is where you see so much play action. Play action holds the backers. If I see the safety over top, can't throw that. But I don't have to go all the way across to the other side of the field. I know the backers are being held through play action because we were pounding them all game, 4 yards a carry. They're going to step up. That half a second is going to give me time. I hit the middle of the field, and this isn't what happened in 2022, where you see those big, long, in-breaking routes. Tua has some of the best anticipation, and that's not a problem with the offense. It's a limitation of the offense.
Start building your own online sports book today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.